is this? At his word a lame man walks, and a silent man can talk, and the broken are restored. Who is this? He can walk on raging seas, and command a storm to cease. At his voice the demons flee. This is Jesus, this is our God.
John 11, 33 to 36. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." The shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. Such a short verse with so much meaning behind it. One of Jesus' closest friends, Lazarus, had just died. So Jesus went to visit him and his sisters. And there, once seeing what was going on, he wept. Here Jesus is dealing with an almost staple of humanity. Once again, we can look at the model that he sets. My gran died last month. Her funeral, at the time of recording, was last week. And it was a crazy experience. There was just the shock that she was gone, then the sadness that came afterwards. And it was all a bit strange. And your head never gets in the right place. But this passage was a sort of reality check for me. It was a sign that death actually does hurt, that it's normal to miss the loved ones who have passed. It's normal to feel their loss. For a long while, a couple of weeks, I thought, I have to keep this sucked down. I have to pretend like it doesn't hurt. You have to be strong for other people. Sometimes you do have to. But this passage kind of helped me through it. It kind of taught me that, you know what, feeling that pain, you're allowed to. The relatability of Jesus is clearly shown in the passage with those two words. Jesus and Lazarus, they were good friends. The onlookers even point this out in verse 36. Jesus was deeply saddened by the death of his friend, and therefore he fully grasps the feeling of that loss. The emptiness, the kick in the gut when we hear the person we love has passed, the longing for just one more conversation. In this moment, Jesus demonstrates that he knows what that is like. A few months ago, at my other church in Spalding, this passage was preached on. And I'm not going to replicate the sermon, but I'd like to share a condensed down version of it. The original translation of deeply moved in verse 33 was a feeling of anger. It wasn't a thoughtful, quiet sort of moved, but a shaking, angry, agonizing grief. But why? Who's he angry at? He's not angry at Lazarus. It's not his fault. He's not even angry at the crowds. They're just displaying human emotion. They're being honest. They miss him. No, the anger is at death itself. When you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. When God and mankind first existed in Eden, there was no death. And in heaven, there is no death either. in God's perfect design, there is no death, no dying. It's only after the fall that it exists. Death isn't natural. We can get angry at it. Getting angry at death is natural, and grief is a natural reaction to death. Suffering is a natural reaction to death. Jesus demonstrates this when he's deeply moved and when he weeps. If you want the full sermon, it is on the Spalding Baptist Church Facebook page under their live streams, and the date's the 14th of August 2022. I would highly recommend listening to it. When my grandmother died, it was mentioned fairly frequently. She knew where she was going. That must be some comfort. Something along those lines. And they were right. It was, and it is a comfort to know where she is. But comfort from what? If death is a natural part of life, if it's normal, then there's nothing that you need comfort from. Death hurts, and Jesus expresses this. Because of his reaction to the death of Lazarus, we can know that when we weep, God weeps with us. Because Jesus wept. Once again, Jesus shows how relatable he is. And once again, it links back to that passage in Hebrews. For surely it is not angels he helps, but Abraham's descendants. For this reason, he had to be made like them, fully human in every way, in order that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in service to God, and that he might make atonement for the sins of the people. For this reason, he had to be made like them, fully human in every way.
Who is this? At his word a lame man walks, and a silent man can talk, and the broken are restored. Who is this? He can walk on raging seas, and command a storm to cease. At his voice the demons flee. This is Jesus. This is our God, working wonders and miracles. This is the Savior,